children need to know not to put themselves in a position where they can be photographed in a compromising position or doing something that's against the law. When it's on Instagram or it's on social media, there's usually a permanent record out there that people can come back and accuse you of wrongdoing. So again, it's just awareness and students not putting themselves in a situation where these type things can happen.
You're listening to the SmartSocial.com podcast, your trusted source for real-world tactics that keep students safe and help them to shine online. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. Each week, I sit down with K-12 superintendents, district leaders, and community voices who are shaping digital safety. We discuss wins, struggles, and strategies used to guide students so they can be safe and successful online.
Hi, I'm Rick Surrency. I'm the superintendent of schools from the Putnam County School District in Florida. We have 10,000 students and we have 13 schools.
Superintendent, welcome back. We had you on, I think it was April of 2023. I'm so excited to have you here today. Now, you got a different role than other superintendents. You are not normally a superintendent gets elected in a certain way, and you're different. Can you explain the normal versus how you do it?
Absolutely. And I'm asked this a lot, Josh. Most superintendents around the United States are appointed by their school board, and they can also be fired by their school board, and they have a contract. In Florida, most of our superintendents, and there's 67 school districts, about 40 of them are actually elected. And we actually have to run for election, raise money, campaign, and then we go through an election cycle just like the president of the United States. So we are in office for 4 years, and the school board cannot hire or fire us.
So interesting. Voted in, elected by the voters. I love that. I think it's really great. I'm excited to have you here a second time around. And here's what I'm really excited about. What I want to do today is I want to get some safety tips from you. I want to get a bunch of tips on how we can engage parents. And I'd love to also understand what's going on in your community so we can educate the rest of the country on. And for all of our audience members today, you're either a superintendent yourself or a parent or somebody amazing in between. And we love you, parents and guardians, grandparents, we're here for you. But today, there's no shame. It's all about tips and ideas and strategies and examples and blunders we've seen. And we're all here so that you can take some of these tips and use them in your community, no matter where you're watching. Now, also for our audience, you know that I am going to be probably taking some copious notes because the superintendent here has some amazing experience and his voters elected him. So a lot of people really believe in this guy. He's also been on our podcast before and he has his own podcast. So superintendent, after 240 of your peers being on our podcast, these conversations in 43 plus states, we've heard some consistent trends, and I'd love to get your advice. Here's the challenges that we're hearing this school year, and they haven't really changed a whole lot. Maybe I'm missing one. Please set me straight. So we're hearing that there's hidden direct messages. We're going to talk a little bit about that today and get some of your advice. And this could be in Snapchat or even in Instagram. There's some hidden features there. There's dangerous TikTok challenges we've all heard of for views and likes and stuff like that. The bathroom challenge during COVID. And then there's group text messages, which cause fear of missing out and bullying and stuff. And then next, there's students chatting with AI, which is just dangerous. And then the old school way of chatting with unknown people and stranger danger, which is never good. Then there's some inappropriate content we hear about a lot. It could be happening off campus. And then parents, it causes a huge problem for the superintendent staff on campus on Monday morning at 8 a.m. And then last, there's screen time and phone addiction. And we hear from some of your peers, Josh, if you could just fix that one, it might help us fix a lot of these other ones. What are you seeing in your community?
Well, Josh, I'm seeing all of these in some form or another. You know, look at screen time, and I have my grandkids. Actually, that's something that's really been an issue. Just our grandkids, if we don't control it, they're literally addicted to the phone. So we have to actually, there's a setting you can put on the phone to actually cut it off at a certain time so they go to bed. Same thing with students in school. We have actually in Florida, this is the first year they've enacted a no phone or a phone ban. No phones in school, kindergarten through 8th, and the high school kids can have their phones out only between classes. We've actually seen some remarkable results from that. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of interesting that at lunchtime, the school personnel tell me that lunches are so much louder now because kids are actually talking to each other, which I think is great. But these other things, you know, the hidden messages, and I've said before that, sexting is an issue. Sometimes kids will take pictures of themselves or others and use that for devious reasons. We have kids who communicate with each other and make threats to either the other person or other persons or the school. One thing they need to realize, once they delete it off their phone, it's never off their phone. And we've had law enforcement can actually go onto the phone and retrieve anything that's been put on the phone. So there's a lot of stuff. We have kids who the bullying and have them video in fights off campus or on campus, and a lot of times they'll share that or they'll put it on social media, and that will create a ripple effect with other kids will get involved, and it creates a bigger issue than it was. So all these are very pertinent to what we're seeing in our schools today. And the main thing is parents just be aware of what's going on, know what your child is looking at, sit by them when they're on there playing games, and just be aware there's a lot of bad actors out there that want to lure your kids in.
So true. So true. So the next question I have for you, Superintendent, in conversations with staff, what do you hear them say is the hardest to keep up with? Is it social media shifts? Is it AI? Or is it student screen time habits?
I think the student screen time habits have been an issue for years. And again, I said we've come up with some legislation here in Florida to try to curb that. But still, not only in the classroom has it been an issue, but when students leave school or they go home and they're supposed to do the work or homework, they cannot get away from the screen. And it is so addictive that we have to be able to limit that. And I'm talking about kids in primary age all the way through high school. So, and of course, social media shifts, I think, are getting more severe. There's TikTok, there's Instagram. Kids always say that Facebook is for old people. So that they're using the other platforms now that we don't always see. And they're so good at it. And they can really, they can hide things from us so easy now and talk in cryptic language. There's an entire language out there that kids use that a lot of us adults are not even accustomed to. So just be aware that's going on.
Yeah, so true, sir. Okay, the next question I have for you is, we often hear principals say they feel pulled in many directions when it comes to digital safety and engagement. How can parents nationwide better partner with school staff to support students around screen time and social media safety?
Well, just pay attention to the research. And, there are many school districts, even ours, that puts out information on our social media from our schools. A lot of times our parent nights will include something on some type of, social media awareness and making parents aware of, hey, make sure you're aware of what your students are doing and how it can inhibit their learning and how it can create a problem at school. But more than that, make sure you manage your screen time, because kids don't voluntarily just turn the phone off and put it down and start doing their homework. There has to be some structure in the home. And also be aware, like you said, Josh, there's a lot of people that will pretend to be someone else and get on the phone and maybe appear to be, if you're a guy on the phone, might appear to be a nice looking female. Whereas there's probably some predator out there that is trying to lure you in or do something to take advantage of you. So just be aware that, there are a lot of things going on with our children that we're not aware of, and it's all on that one device.
So true. It's such a scary time right now. So for all of our audience members, you know that we host weekly free parent night events where you can bring your teenagers, and we do them on all these different topics. Now, last week, one of the biggest questions was this, and I want to leave parents with this, with some ideas. Parents asked us, Josh, what advice would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Well, let's hear from a student about how she might help a friend recognize these red flags.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
Parents, don't forget to come on out to our weekly live parent events and replays. We do big giveaways. Come on out and learn how to keep your kids safe. You can enter for a chance to win a 3D printer, a Kindle, a Bluetooth speaker. Also, in the middle, you'll see there's teen-led video lessons. And that a lot of parents say, hey, my child came to this and looked over my shoulder and they weren't rolling their eyes. And that's because they're learning from their peers. Also, you get put in our premium parent newsletter. Okay. And then parents, also one more thing. If you are struggling on anything, Smart Social's here for you. We have the very best nationwide group of parents that do our research, an army of amazing parents. We have the best resources on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Netflix, WhatsApp, and 450 more apps and resources. And they're not just in English, they're also in Spanish and Espanol and Mandarin and about 9 other languages, which is exciting. We've got Anti-Bullying Month in full swing. We're the biggest in the country, I think, and not only in English, but also in Espanol. And then next month is Snapchat and Instagram teen safety risks and so on. Ton of different stuff. We're excited to have everybody out, and we'll see you there. Superintendent, some districts say that they wish they had more time to focus on student safety and parent engagement. What area would you tell other districts is the most important part to focus on to support parents?
Just watching the young lady talk really made me think a lot, especially, parents, and again, advise your children if they don't get to see some of these broadcasts, if they're talking to someone they don't know, be very clear not to give out personal information. Do not tell them where they live. Do not tell them what school they go to. Definitely don't give them any kind of viable information like their social security number or their bank number or anything like that. And again, I think it's kind of like when we hear a salesman, when they say something that sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is not true. So to me, that would be something that I would stress to parents to make sure they talk to their child about the dangers out there. And, other districts need to be aware. You might be a small rural district out in the middle of nowhere, and you feel like you're not near a big urban area and your kids are very well protected and safe. And hey, social media reaches every inch of our country. So I would just say nobody is safe. And I would just encourage parents to be involved. And how can you get involved is just to stay attuned yourself to what's going on, stay in contact with your school, just be aware that there's a lot of stuff coming out every single day that's new that we're having to deal with. And, the other thing too, Josh, is a lot of times students will confide in somebody on social media about them wanting to do self-harm. And of course, we have devices in our districts that sometimes will catch that and sometimes it won't. So again, understand students are talking to someone else and they're not telling you things. And there might be some red flags there about them harming themselves or maybe harming someone else.
Yeah, it's so true. There's so much discussion going on online. So other district leaders are telling us that parent engagement helps them get ahead of future student social media problems. What parent or student preventative education would you recommend to other school districts to get ahead of these problems before they happen on campus?
I think when people hear parent engagement, they automatically think that means they have to go up and be on the school grounds, or they have to attend some parent night, or they have to do something. And, not all parents can do that. But, the one thing that I encourage for parent engagement is talk to your students, have conversations every day. And, we all deal with the thing. We ask our children or our grandchildren when they come home, how was your day today? They say fine, because they don't want to talk about it. But try to engage them in conversation. Hey, what's something you learned today? Are there any issues you need to talk to me about? Do you have any new friends? Engage them in conversation, because I think the biggest thing our kids miss today from our parents is having that meaningful dinner conversation. Even if you don't sit at a dinner table and you're sitting on the couch, turn the TV off and have conversations. And a lot of times parents will pick up some things they otherwise might not have. So again, that's something the school can't always do. The parents have to partner with us. When the schools can't do that, we ask the parents to be the teacher at home.
Yeah, the teacher at home, the first teacher, if you will.
Right.
I love it. Superintendent, the next question I have for you is, what kinds of situations or issues have you seen that involved maybe Snapchat disappearing messages or secret Instagram accounts? Here's, for example, it could be bullying, harassment, or inappropriate sharing.
I've seen some situations over my time. I've been an assistant principal and a principal in a secondary school. And of course, I'm a superintendent now, but I used to deal with these situations on an ongoing basis. And I think that the thing that I have seen over the years are these Snapchats where students can send messages or send photographs of people who are inappropriate or inappropriately dressed, and they would share that, and the message can go away. But what they do is they bully that person by sharing that with their friends, this can trigger this individual, the victim. There's been suicides with children humiliated with this type of information, and we get law enforcement involved. Again, law enforcement a lot of times can have access to that phone and retrieve that information, but sometimes they can't. So again, one thing we encourage is when people see something, they say something so we can cut it off. But some of this damage that is done to, children are irreparable or long lasting. So we have to know about it, and children need to know students need to know to not put themselves in a position where they can be photographed in a compromising position or doing something that's against the law, where somebody can take a picture of that. You shouldn't be breaking the law at all. But when it's on Instagram or it's on social media, there's usually a permanent record out there that people can come back and accuse you of wrongdoing. So again, it's just awareness and students not putting themselves in a situation where these type things can happen.
So true, sir. So true on so many levels. Superintendent, you took a lot of time out of your busy day today to join us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Josh, thank you for having me. And after 2+ years, it's great to see you again. And I just appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing here in Putnam County.
Thank you so much. To all of our audience members, remember, it's all about keeping your kids safe so they can be successful someday. That means they shine online after the age of 16 when you're ready for them to be on social media, which we say wait a little longer. They may not like you, but it's good for what's good for them for the long run. We're here at smartsocial.com to give you the resources you need, to also remind you those 2 steps, and then you're ready to shine online in the end. Parents, don't forget to join one of our free parent night events. They're incredible. We have a lot of anti-bullying this month. We've got Snapchat and Instagram month following month. And then back for the holidays, we've got a lot of ways to lock down your phone for better screen time, parental controls like the superintendent mentioned. There's a lot of features there. We've got a lot of teachers for that. Parents, last thing. When you post, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are modeling what they see you do online and how you treat others. I'm Josh Oakes, the founder of smartsocial.com. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for spending time with the smartsocial.com podcast. If today's insights were useful, please share the episode with a fellow parent or educator and subscribe so you never miss our next conversation. And parents, make sure to join one of our next live online events each week to keep your family safe and also enter for a chance to win cool prizes. You can learn more at smartsocial.com. I'm your host, Josh Oakes, and parents, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching what you're doing online. I'll see you on the next episode.